they may feel a little bit of a desperate energy from you. So you have to be in a position where, yes, you understand that you want a friendship and that you're keen to find a friendship, but come from a place of poise, from a place of grace, and from a place of abundance, knowing that the friendship that is meant to align with me will eventually happen. Let us not be the group of people that keep saying we're lonely and we don't have friends when we're not taking the steps and taking the responsibility to create the environment around us that can actually facilitate for those friendships. Hey there, my lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back again. So for today, I am going to be discussing the topic of friendships, and most importantly, how to maintain or even cultivate friendships when you are an adult, because this is a topic that I think is not only a hot topic, but is a topic that impacts our generation more than any other generation. Because, you know, in an age where we have social media, we have this illusion of being connected when really and truly we're disconnected, because by watching someone's stories or reading their posts, you think that you are connected with what they're doing and you know about their life or you know what's happening. But really and truly, there's a disconnect when we're not having full-on human interactions, when we're not able to communicate with each other because we're no longer used to communicating. Everything is via text and everything is via voice notes or videos or whatever it might be. So yes, I am guilty of every single thing that I just stated now, because this is just the generation that we're in. But it's a question of, once you see that there is a flaw in something you've been doing for a long time, how do you then pull yourself back and find a way to make your friendships, in this case, better? So this is what we're going to talk about today. So if you find that you are somebody who has been struggling to make friends, or, you know, even if you do know how to make friends, you struggle with maintaining them, then perhaps this could be the video for you to watch. And not only to watch, to start to reflect on the relationships that you've had with people, the friendships you've had with people, and see how you've showed up in those relationships. Because on this channel, it's all about us taking accountability. It's not about pointing all the fingers at people and not taking any accountability for ourselves and our actions, because that never ends well, and it never leads us to the path of successful and meaningful relationships, whatever that looks like and whatever that means to you. So if we just get on to, you know, talking about friendships, the types of friendships you can experience, and then we'll gradually go on to just some tips of how you can cultivate better friendships with people and how that can actually look like in a healthy and sustainable way. So what I would say is that friendship, at least for me, is characterized as a bond and a connection between people that is embedded in truth, you know, so having integrity, and also being in a position where you're both open with each other and you're able to communicate with each other in a way that is not demeaning one another or in a way trying to overpower the other person. I would say that friendship is equally yoked to a degree, and what I mean by that is that the energy that we put into the friendship is reciprocated, that it is mirrored, that the friendship that we have is considered a friendship on both ends and not just on one side, where someone is considering the other person as a friend, pouring into them, whereas the other one is probably just considering you as just an acquaintance or somebody that they know. So I think a friendship is something that is equally yoked in that respect. And I would also say that a friendship sometimes can even border on becoming family, but that also is something that is earned over time. When someone has showed their integrity year after year, they have showed up for you in your happy times, in your sad times. There's somebody who's constant in your life, but not just because you're codependent to each other or with one another, but instead is because every time that you're in need of something or they're in need of something, you both understand each other so well that you know that they are your safe space. So this is where I would like us to talk about the different types of friendships you have. So the first thing I would say is that for me, there are 3 levels of friendships. And the first level, I would say for me, is the person that you know, you have some sort of connection or shared value, but at the same time, you wouldn't necessarily call on that person if you were in trouble. But you share a mutual interest in something, probably why you met to begin with. But at the same time, there is a level or a boundary that is between you. So I would say that's kind of like ground level starter friendship. And usually these starter friendships can blossom to be more, or sometimes they can just stay there and be stagnated. So it's good to know that they're starter friendships and also know how to class them. So the second friendship, I would say, is a type of friendship where maybe you knew each other at school, at college, university, or whatever it might be. And your friendship is very much about you check in on each other based on that place where you met. You wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to communicate with this person or to connect with them. Every once in a while, maybe you may check in just to see how the other person is doing, but the friendship you had was about the time and the moment you shared in life, whether at school, like I said, whether at work, or whether you were just neighbors and you made a friendship while you were together. But the minute your paths went separate ways, you no longer had that friendship. I'm not too sure how to coin this, but it's almost like situational friendships. That friendship will not really go beyond that point. It will just be while we're at college, while we're at work, while wherever we have met. And then once we leave, that friendship just fades away. So I would say that's kind of like a tier 2 type of friendship. Now, the third type of friendship, there's something that deeply connects you as individuals, that when you meet each other, you feel like that person fully understands you. When you talk to them, you feel like you can open up, you feel like you can, really be yourself, and you feel like this person doesn't only understand you, but they are able to work with you to become a better version of you. So they don't judge you harshly. They don't necessarily put you in a position where you feel like you have to compromise your standards, your morals, your values in order for you to, in a way, please them. So this kind of friendship is really secure, it's really solid. And I think this kind of friendship is the one where we kind of start to say that friends become family. Sometimes family are your chosen people, and that person could be your chosen person, because that friendship just feels like home. And this is the ultimate friendship that we all really and truly aspire to have. And even if you have just one of these friendships, I promise you, you are far much better than somebody who has a multitude of people around them, but the only friendship that they can count as friendship is the one they have with themselves. So this is the kind of friendship that I would say you don't necessarily need a lot of, because even if you have a lot of people but you still feel alone, then that's not a friendship. So I won't dwell on that too much, but I wanted you to kind of understand what I see as different tiers of friendship. So the ones at the bottom are friends, but really and truly they're acquaintances, right? You just see them from afar. The ones in the middle have kind of graduated beyond acquaintances because you shared a moment. There were memories that you shared, whether at university, like I said, there was something that bonded you for that moment, but your friendship wasn't quite solid. And then you have those friends. And again, I think this is something that's worth saying, and this is how you know when you've got true and genuine friends. Time can lapse where you haven't seen each other for months, for weeks, even years, but the minute you reconnect, whether via phone, via video, or in person, there is something just so magnetic about your connection with this person that it feels like not even a minute or a day has lapsed. You just feel like you are just connected, and everything that you share with them, you feel like it is locked safely in a vault and it will never leave until you give them permission to. So that's the different types of friendships that we're talking about here. 3-tier friendships, acquaintances at the bottom, very shallow friendships in the middle, and the true, solid, concrete friendships right at the top, which is where we are hoping to get with at least one friend at some point in this lifetime. And there's no rush for it. True, genuine friendships not only happen, but they come about in such a beautiful and magical way that you will not have any way to explain other than to say this friendship was meant to be. And that's assuming you don't already have that in your life right now. Okay, so we'll go straight on to how to cultivate these types of friendships. So let's talk about building new relationships with people and how you can go about building these relationships when you are either an introverted person or where you've been hurt so many times in friendships that you are tired and just do not know what to do with yourself. So the first thing I would definitely say here is, once you have written down a list of what you bring to the table as a friend, then I want you to know that whatever you are willing to put into that friendship, when you find the right type of people, they will mirror that and then some. And you will feel it when the person you have met as a new friend is somebody that you can deeply connect with. And of course, things progress with time. You don't necessarily go from 0 to hero with friendships overnight. It takes time. So I also want us to be very mindful that just because we meet somebody and we kick it off on the first interaction, it doesn't mean that things will progress quickly, because even when you look at some of the friendships that you had previously, they just take time to grow and to blossom. So I think that's one thing I want us to do before we think about anything, is to exercise patience when it comes to building and cultivating new relationships. So the first thing I want you to do is to write down a list of all the things that you are willing to bring and to also do to be able to cultivate this new friendship, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing you need to do, and this is one that you may find difficult if you are an introverted person, but I promise you it gets easier with time, is to practice connecting with people in real time. By that I mean going to places where people are so you can socialize, so that you can connect with them, and so that you are able to fully express who you are without hiding behind a keyboard, without hiding behind the lens. You're able to fully present yourself. And as you practice being yourself and speaking to people that you may or may not connect with, you're able to bring yourself out of your shell. Because I think what has happened over time is, with all of this being overly social on social media and not really being social in real time, a lot of us have become a little bit shy to interact with people. And I would go as far as to say scared to interact with people. And that shouldn't be the case, because as human beings, we're social by nature. And I understand that there's some reasons why we've all become somewhat antisocial. The past few years have been difficult with what we had happening globally, but it doesn't mean that now we can't take back what we previously had and make it better and stronger. So I want you to really put yourself out there, socializing with people. If you don't really like networking, go to smaller groups and socialize with them until you fully come out of your cocoon. Because as you come out of your cocoon, people will be able to see you for who you are, the beautiful, bright butterfly that you are. And even if you're not bright and loud and audacious, there's still something inherently beautiful about you that will come out the more you're able to connect with people. Now, on top of that, the next thing that will make the process of getting to know people easier is, like I said, connecting with people. But I can hear you asking, Sheila, how do I connect with people when I don't really know maybe my interests? I don't really know how to do this. What I will say is, again, go back to the pen and paper. And I think it's best to do this on pen and paper. Don't write it on your phone. Pen and paper has a way of making things feel very real, very solid, very, very factual. Don't know why, but it does. Once you've written down what you're going to deliver as a friend, and then once you've acknowledged that you need to get out and socialize with people, the next thing that will honestly help you and will turn things around and quicken the process of getting out there is writing down a list of things you've always wanted to do. Whether that's pottery, whether you wanted to start swimming, whether you wanted to join a book club, whether you wanted to start tailoring or doing something creative, write a list of those things down. And it doesn't have to be that if I do this or if I go to this particular activity, I have to stick to it for the entirety of the month or the entirety of the year, whatever it might be. No. All I want you to do is give yourself the freedom to be able to dip and dive into different things. But the setting that you're going to do it in is what's going to make the difference. When you're booking whichever activity or hobby that you now want to immerse yourself in, as long as it's creative, so you're not uptight and feeling like you have to really have your A game, right? Unless you want to do a new language, that's also another way to meet people. Then what you want to do is to allow yourself to book these activities as group activities, because this then broadens your social circle. This broadens the amount of people you can connect with maybe in a week or 2 weeks. Because if your routine has been go to work, get into transportation, go straight home, and that is your Monday through to Sunday, it doesn't leave much room to connect with people. Because if we're honest with ourselves, when we're all commuting, half the time you're thinking about getting to destination, you're thinking about getting to work, you're not looking up, you're not minding what is happening around you. So the chances of you meeting a friend like that are reduced, though they're not impossible. But if you go to a group setting where people are entering the setting being relaxed and being creative, and they might be more likely to connect with you and be open and receptive to you potentially extending the invitation to become friends after you've made a genuine connection from that activity. So think about group activities that could be fun for you, that could be creative for you, and immerse yourself in that and just see how far you can really go with that. So I think that's one thing that could be a huge game changer for you if you do find it difficult to meet people on a day-to-day basis. So on top of those three things that are very much about you exercising and executing things, what I would say is to also think about the attitude that you bring to making new friendships. And by attitude, I mean, are you putting too much pressure on yourself? Are you putting too much pressure on the other person to deliver as a friend? Are you coming in with stress and feeling like, oh my God, I need to capture this person's attention. I need to be the best type of friend so that they can see me as a friend. What type of energy are you bringing with you? I'm very careful about using the word energy because I know it can be a little bit overused nowadays, but what type of temperament are you bringing? Because if your temperament is not one of there is abundance in the world, if this person is meant to be my friend, they will be my friend willingly. If for example, you're not thinking about how you treat yourself, right? So think about, how have I been treating myself? If I've been hiding myself and I've been shy, I am now just coming out. So that means I need to take extra care with the people I interact with, but it doesn't mean that I have to be so careful that I'm no longer myself. So what I want you to do is, when you present yourself in all of these different settings, present yourself as somebody who loves herself, because you do. Present yourself as somebody who cares for herself and values herself, and that you are not desperate for a friendship. Because when you're desperate for a friendship, People who are genuinely in love with themselves and their lives, and they have other friends around them, they may feel a little bit of a desperate energy from you. So you have to be in a position where, yes, you understand that you want a friendship and that you're keen to find a friendship, but come from a place of poise, from a place of grace, and from a place of abundance, knowing that the friendship that is meant to align with me will eventually happen. And in as much as you are going to these activities to connect and to meet with people, it doesn't mean that each activity and each session you go to will reap you a good reward of a friend. It doesn't mean that that activity will come with a reward of a friend instantaneously, but what that just may mean is that you are exercising your socializing muscle, your communication muscle, your interaction muscles, because if you haven't been interacting with people, you may come off a little bit reserved or shy, and people may not be able to connect with you on the first few instances. But once you kind of, almost like an onion, once you unravel all of those layers, you will eventually let people in and they will see just how beautiful and vibrant you are. Or maybe you're somebody who is beautiful, elegant, graceful, and calm, and that may be the type of friendship that they need, and naturally you will gravitate towards each other. So I think what I wanted to say as, tip number 4 is bring your best self by being yourself, leaning into who you are, and don't try to contort yourself and morph into something you're not, because you think that that is what is captivating to people in terms of friendships. So number 5, and I don't want to make this too lengthy, number 5, I would say, exercise a lot of patience and be okay with things taking time. And I think the other thing that we can put into the mix of patience is learning to enjoy the process. So as you're waiting for your friendship to blossom, learn to enjoy the simple interaction you have with this individual. As you are waiting for that friendship to take root, learn to enjoy the process of getting to know and understand the other individual. Because the more you get to know somebody and the more you get to acknowledge them and all the different things they have happening in their lives, then you're able to really understand who they are, and you're able to know what you can expect from them. Because like I said, when you're cultivating friendships as an adult, you need to understand this. The situation is very different. And then on top of that, while you're exercising patience and trusting the process, you start to learn how to understand who they are, read the room so you don't expect more than what will be given to you. In the same sense, you don't end up giving more than what you will receive, especially in the early stages, because you don't want to become too overbearing. And also, I think in this particular process is when you start to manage your expectations. So if you are single, you don't have a boyfriend or a partner at the moment, and you have a fairly light and flexible schedule, you need to understand that when you meet people, if they're not all of those 3 things, have a partner, they have children, and they also have a demanding job, then of course what they have in terms of a schedule may be very, very limited. So you need to understand that although I have a great connection with this person, their time will be limited, and I need to honor and respect that. And when you honor and respect somebody and their schedule, you may find that people even want to free up their schedule more to connect with you, because you've given them the grace and you've understood them. So I've had a friendship like this where this particular individual did not really understand that I was unable to make as much time as they wanted from our friendship. And over time, that friendship just withered away naturally, because I was unable to keep up with all the events that were happening, because I had things that were majorly important to me that I had to attend to. And I think as adults, we need to get to a point where we're able to express our priorities. We're able to express things that mean a lot to us right now. And sometimes that means putting some of those friendships on a back burner. And it doesn't mean you're disrespecting the person. It doesn't mean that you're disregarding a friendship. But what it could potentially mean is just that I'm unable at this point in time to give that much time and that much effort. If the other individual doesn't honor and respect that, then maybe that friendship may not be the one that you need to be cultivating to begin with, because there's no mutual respect for your priorities as well as your own life outside of that friendship. So I think it's something that is worth us thinking about, and also noting, is it something that I've also been participating in, where perhaps I've expected more from people despite things not being the way they were before. And this tends to happen a lot more when you have friends who've known each other from university, from college days, or whatever it might be, where they may tend to want the same relationship that they had 5-10 years ago with their friends, that they can no longer have, as things have changed for 1 or 2 other people involved. Yeah, so those are the 5 things I would definitely say you need to look at when you're trying to cultivate new friendships. So that has been it in terms of just giving you tips on how to cultivate some new friendships. And of course, I'm saying that, but also exercise wisdom in knowing that these things will take time, and they do take time. But I'd like to acknowledge that adult friendships can become very difficult and very tricky because of all the different aspects that we have to now factor in, because we're no longer just single Pringles doing nothing with no responsibilities. So the next thing I would say is that once you have harnessed all of those 5 things, is to just sit with yourself and understand that there are seasons for an abundance in friendships, and there are seasons to where it's almost like peak seasons and low seasons. There are seasons where you may look around and start questioning, do I really and truly have friends? Because everyone is so busy, everyone is so hectic, and people are just trying to get by. So I do not want you to get disheartened when people are busy and not necessarily able to cater to your friendship. But what I want you to do is, while you are busy getting into these new hobbies, new leisurely activities, you may find that you don't necessarily want or need as many friendships as you previously thought, and that you can just lean into 1 or 2 friendships that will bring the best out of you, that will allow you to shine just as you allow them to shine. But also, let's just note that there are seasons where we just have, isolation periods, where I've made a video on this and I'll leave it up here somewhere. There's seasons where we are going through a stage of isolation, so that we're almost in a cocoon. We're shielded from everything and everyone around us, and we need to go in, we need to have a little bit of self-awareness while we're in that moment. And when we come out, we are recharged and we are ready to connect and make strong and meaningful relationships. So don't always feel like you always have to have a friend on a go. But when you do find yourself in a season where you're not finding the right people, it's also okay to step away, to give yourself and all the love you wanted to give to another person in the friendship capacity to yourself. Fill yourself up, and eventually you will find that as you're filling yourself up, you will start attracting like-minded people into your environment, into your sphere, and you will find that the love and the connection and the joy and the abundance that you feel from being in that environment is 10 times better than anything you could ever have from a friendship that was really something other than a friendship, and maybe not even a friendship to begin with. If you've reached this part of the video, thank you very much, and I appreciate your audience as per usual. And I hope that this video has added some form of value to what you already know about cultivating healthy friendships and relationships with new people. And more importantly, I hope that you are loving, caring, and nurturing on yourself, because the way you treat, care, and nurture for yourself is how people who are of the same and kind nature will also treat and look after you. And eventually, I promise you, you will feel so happy and glad that you've done all the hard work of knowing what you need in friendships, all the hard work of knowing what you bring to the friendship, all the hard work of getting out there, socializing with people, bringing yourself out of your cocoon will allow you to really see who you can be in any environment. And even if all of these tips don't necessarily work for giving you and helping you cultivate a new friendship, it will surely help you to cultivate the ultimate friendship with yourself, which is really and truly the most important one, because wherever you go, there you are, right? And that's the friendship that you really want, where you can trust and have that love and peace within yourself, that you know you can bring that to anyone who is in your environment and deserving of it. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And of course, most importantly, let me know what resonated with you in this video in the comment section below, because I'd love to know how you're cultivating and also maintaining your friendships, your adult friendships, in this time and age where it can be very difficult. Let us not be the group of people that keep saying we're lonely and we don't have friends, when we're not taking the steps and taking the responsibility to create the environment around us that can actually facilitate for those friendships.